Welcome.
Bienvenidos, bienvenidas.
Willkommen.
Ahla wa sahla to breakfast together.
Bom dia, bom dia.
Günaydın.
Kalimera σε όλους.
How is everyone?
Welcome back to another episode with Breakfast Together team.
Yes.
Another Sunday.
Another episode.
How everyone's doing?
Great, fantastic.
How was the last week? Have you had anything fun? Anything language related?
Well, we heard some Romanian, Dimi.
True.
Yes, you watched the movie.
Ancient Romanian.
We watched Nosferatu, and it was. I really liked it actually. I like this with movies when they include some of the original languages of the material. Like, so it's not everything in English or something, but it's. For example, it also had Romanian because it had to do with Romania.
I'm not quite sure if it was supposed to be like a kind of a mix of ancient Romanian or just the Romanian that they're currently speaking in Romania
That's
or
a good
other
question.
countries. I'm not sure because of course, it's in the movie and supposed to be in the past, but I'm not sure if it was ancient Romanian. But by the way, yeah, it was a nice experience.
Those who listen to this and speak Romanian and have seen the movie, get
Yeah,
back
please,
to us
right.
and let us know.
Let
It's
us
so
know.
interesting because I watched Nosferatu just last year back in Valencia, where they were presenting in one of the concert halls the reconstruction of the old. I don't know if it was the same version, but they had Nosferatu, the reconstruction of the old first Nosferatu movie ever.
Wow.
So it's so interesting that, like, how random watching this type of movie
Right?
so close by.
I
We
remember you
watched
mentioning
the
that.
remake. So basically, I mean, it had a few remakes, but now this is the last one. And
Oh,
Bill Skarsgård was playing Count Orlov, and he was the one talking in Romanian or English with a Romanian accent as well. So
I
I don't
was
know
really good.
how good his Romanian was, but I don't know.
It
Convinced me.
sounded convincing. Yeah, it was like it was good. It was good, definitely good. So, since we're talking about Romania and languages, what was the topic that we were discussing last time?
yeah.
Do you remember, Asia?
Of course. I hope our listeners remember as well. And if they haven't listened to the previous
Because
episode, then
I
we
forgot.
Remind me,
yes,
yeah, because I
please,
also forgot.
strongly encourage to go check it out because today we're going to record part 2 of our topic of integration abroad. Since we all, four of us, live in a country of not of our origin, right? So yes, integration abroad was our previous episode, and we've actually focused a lot on the difficulties and challenges that we face while living abroad, because that's obviously not all shines and good things or so forth, as Tilimahus put it. But yeah, we finished our previous part 1 episode with some of the positive activities that can help us feeling good abroad, and some of those were, meeting up for the language exchange, actually learning the local language, and trying to get out of your bubble, because that is quite unavoidable. When once we're abroad, we usually tend to look for people from our own countries because it's the easier contact, and we were talking about how to get out of that bubble. So today we would like to discuss a little bit more about how to feel and actually live a happy life abroad.
And perhaps we can start with since we started already talking about films. I think this is one of the a nice way to get a bit of more connect with the culture, even before you move there. Actually, is to watch films from that country or from that culture, because you also get a bit of more the way that people speak in real life, not in textbooks, or a bit more of the for example, when we all grew up, we were watching some films or some series that everybody knows. It's kind of like the pop culture of our culture, basically. So it's a way to get also into this kind of pop culture, get like the references, get all of the jokes, the memes, the maybe some like funny characters. So I think it's one of the good ways
Indeed.
to get into it.
Did you watch a lot of German things, guys?
Mm,
Well,
Guilty as charged.
Nice weather today
unfortunately,
outside, right? I can say that weather is beautiful.
actually, I think German cinema had a kind of boom in the I think in the 2000s. So there were like quite a few really good films coming out. Many of us watched Die Welle or
Oh, I've seen that one.
Oh
Das
yeah.
Leben, das
I
Leben der
The
Anderen,
life of the actor, the
Goodbye
other actor.
Lenin.
Yeah.
So there were like some really good films. Now German cinema is kind of like not doing so well at the moment. There are like a couple series out, but I think compared to other like cinema scenes, it's not doing the best. So it doesn't
Uh,
make it easy.
The interesting fact is that, Dilemma, as you mentioned, three movies. I guess most of the people that know these movies, and they're the most popular German movies, I think, in right now. And uh, you can see that they focus in one topic. Correct me if anybody knows from our listeners or you folks, but I think it's they focus always in the either war or post-war.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
The
the main
Cold
topic
War,
for
like
them. Cold War, yes, exactly.
the split
And the
Germany's.
Germans' creativity ceased since.
And it's something like based on what Telemaco said, talking about like watching movies, and I think we talked about in the past a lot about like listening to music or podcast or whatever. One interesting thing that I've heard, never done it, but I've heard that people do in the language learner polyglot circle. You can rent a VPN and you can change your VPN, let's say from if you're
I've
in
heard
Germany,
about that.
yeah, to go, for
Yeah.
example, Italy, and then you go to Netflix and it shows
Uh
only
huh.
the Italian-based movies. That is like there's not such a big difference, but is, for example, Spain has more focused on movies, Spanish movies
Mhm.
or series. So
True.
it's a good
True.
technique. Even if you don't live in the country, you can. Yeah, okay, it's a bit more expensive, I guess. Nowadays it's not that expensive actually to rent to have a subscription for a VPN, but it's a good practice. But just wanted to give this tip that I've heard, never tried it, but I think it's a nice one.
I think it's a good idea.
Mhm. Yeah, like some friends of you did it. You never did it. You only
Yeah,
heard
yeah,
about
yeah,
it,
yeah,
of
yeah.
course.
We don't download illegal stuff. We don't do all this.
German authorities, like, totally, if you're listening. Uh, talking about movies, actually, I have a funny example. It's not a Norwegian movie, but it's an Italian movie by a famous actor, Checco Zalone, about Norway. I think like it has like one or maybe two movies about Norway, at least one for sure. Like it is so accurate in so many ways. I was surprised how um, like an Italian actor who has never lived here could capture the essence. Like obviously he had some consultants, but yeah, like advise you guys to check it out. It's super super funny. It's a comedy. So Checco
Nice.
Zalone's
Mm.
movie about Norway.
Um, but another way I think that you can join, I mean, I think we talked about this in the first part as well, is like to go out, what Asia did. I think I'm repeating this story a lot of times, but what Asia did, like go, like it was one of the recommendations of her, like go out and speak the language, just make mistakes. And I think
Mm,
that's the biggest fear of everybody
I would like
doing.
to specify on this before we get criticism over yes, so idealistic, go out and speak, who is going to do that? I will encourage everyone to start from very small steps. The first thing is getting out and actually trying to round your head around the, even the signs on the road signs, even whatever is
Mhm.
written on, let's say, the windows, on the shops, on brands, and so on and so forth. Trying to figure these out. Maybe you will, see some similarities because obviously, when let's say a shop is presented, you can see the window, so you can kind of maybe some of the signs will already tell you the clue of what that can be, and maybe you can make some association in your head around what the name means, and maybe you have some connections, and you don't necessarily need to speak to strangers, because I understand that this may not be the cup of tea of everyone, and especially in some countries it's just not considered really cool to speak to strangers. But in the UK, for example, it's so nice to just bump into each other and say hello, how are you. You don't necessarily need to answer. Actually, you never need to answer. You just have to sort of answer with the same thing. Hi, how are you? I'm good. And, and I had this very interesting interaction when I was back in the UK, probably around 20 years ago. Oops. I was just standing looking at the very nice cliff, and then this lady just popped in front of me, like on the right, and she was like, "Nice wearing it." And I was like, okay, first of all, what is this accent, this one? What is she saying? And then I kind of clued that she was talking something about the weather. And then I was like, oh, yes, it is. I was hoping I got the answer right. But she just said that, it's a nice weather, isn't it? So I guess trying to at least respond back, not with your scary face, but at least with the word yes, okay, may kind of already give you some confidence, and you don't have to speak a lot, you don't have to initiate the conversation, but just try to be
Start
more
small.
open-minded, let's say.
Yeah.
Like in Germany, if you just say mit Karte bitte, like
Yeah,
that
you
goes.
can just like live all your life here without like just danke mit Karte bitte and
Danke mit
das
Karte
war alles,
bitte.
ja.
Don't forget the now.
Yeah, I think Asya, I agree with you, but I can at the same time I can say at least that happened to me. Maybe because maybe it was not at the time that I should have done that. I should have done it maybe later, and I think it worked better later. I remember I went to a gym at the time. I was doing a
Mhm.
martial arts sport, and I went to a place where everybody was speaking German, and my German at that time was like not that good. I guess yes, it's nice for integrating, and you're gonna meet people because mostly everybody was speaking in English. But I remember that even the teacher was not speaking English, and they were trying to explain me something, and it was a bit. Too much, I would say. So I think sometimes you need to know what is the level that you can, let's say,
Handle, or
handle. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
so it can be also, it can have two sides, like it can be from two sides coin. Is that how it's called?
Yeah, let's
Yes.
say.
Yeah. So I think it can be also, it's going to be also a bit let's say dangerous sometimes, but it's always good to try to push yourself as much as you can, as much as you feel comfortable to do, so you can integrate more and see how people are having fun outside, or like what kind of activities they do and everything.
One thing that can help in this situation, I think, is if you mostly aim to speak to people one on one in the beginning, because I think we all have this experience when we learn a new language. Uh, Talking to a group of people, a group of natives, is always exponentially more difficult than talking to one person,
That's so
because
true.
if you speak to one person, you're focused on one person. They usually adjust their speed of speaking and the way they speak to you. The moment you add more people to the mix, they're like like just bouncing things off each other, like being fast, like laughing while talking. It gets really messy. So I think it's like talking in a group is like comes a bit later when learning a language. So I think the best thing is to just also, for example, like what Asa did, like just talking to a few people, maybe exchanging a few words, a few sentences, or just starting some chit chat. I think
Mhm.
it works easier. It's like a nice way to
There
learn, but
is
also in an easy way.
Yeah, there is also actually one even step prior to this, I'd say, which is even easier, I believe. And this is where your bubble can help. If you are in the bubble, and most probably you will be, especially if you are with your family that speaks the same language, or if you already met someone or knew someone prior, or you met someone pretty quickly, because that's just kind of how it works. You have an instant connection. So maybe using that person who has been in the place longer than you did, and asking that person to introduce you or to take you somewhere um, of your common interest. I don't know. I'll give you an example. I had a friend here in Turkey. She is from Russia, so obviously we speak Russian. She took me to this walking club that I've heard about. It's like a hiking club. They have this hiking activities on the weekend. And even though she doesn't speak the local language herself, I met tons of locals in that club, because first of all, I like hiking. So for me, the most important thing was to actually focus on the activity that's not related to language, but the language came afterwards. So this is also very nice because one, you can try yourself to initiate contact with the locals, let's say on one to one, and when you walk, you can, you pair with someone, you can chat with someone, or if your language is nowhere near to even try to say something, very important in that sense is listening, and also listening maybe to other foreigners to speak, so that you
Mm.
can get that confidence of saying, oh, okay, if she speaks that or he speaks that, I can do the same. So observing in the activity that interests you, observing your person from your bubble, to use that local language so that you can first, have your listening skill boost up, but also having confidence in, okay, if she can do it, I can do it, why not? So
That's
yeah.
such a good example. I second every word that you said. Very valuable tips, I think, because also here in Norway, like the hiking, it's more than just hiking. So here people are obsessed with hiking. It's like the national sport, and they do it all the time. So personally, for me, I took a break from November to about until April, May,
Oh my
because
God, people will be mad. Norwegian will be mad at you. Yeah,
yeah, they can be mad whatever they want, but it's icy and snowy, so I don't want to hike.
yeah.
But during the summer, like last summer, I was hiking a lot, and I even helped a friend with her master thesis because she was writing a master thesis on integration while hiking. So,
Oh,
so
great.
there you go. And she was interviewing me and she was asking me, and the groups that I was joining, it was about half half, so half Norwegians, half foreigners, and it's everything that you describe. It was like just perfect, and it's casual. So I again, like, it doesn't necessarily have to be hiking, but I think that the key word here is organized activity,
Mhm.
organized activity, so it doesn't sound like completely awkward. So as you, Dimi, were mentioning, martial arts, like hiking, cooking class,
No, like
anything, as
some kind
Asa
of
was.
activity, and especially, I mean, again, sorry to interrupt here, but I think uh, I'm in between in this topic because you can try to get to the local one where local or native people go, and you can get frustrated, but at the same time you can also get to the and there again, let's say, in this bubble, which could be like an English speaking activity. I know, for example, like in Berlin, and I know Telemachus is doing that. He's like going to the silent book reading, which I guess it can help you integrate, but at the same time,
Excuse me, what is silent book reading?
no, that's off. We're gonna talk about this
It's
off.
basically like people get together, they read a book for everyone reads their own book for 1 hour in silence, and then you
Okay.
talk about your books like for the other 1 hour or something.
Right, like silent disco, but silent
It's
book.
nice.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
Nice.
nice
but it
actually.
makes more sense than silent disco because I mean you're reading books and
I'm
you're
I'm,
not.
I'm just joking.
And you allocate
The only
allocate
thing in
time,
common is the word silent.
and you allocate time for yourself, like to read some books, because we know that you, Rena, you read all day, all night.
Exactly.
Where for other people, you have to say, I have to go there in order to read some books.
Right.
Actually, sometimes I do. It's like I would say yes, I'm gonna read a book, but then it's like it gets postponed until the weekend or something. So I'm like, okay, let's combine it with a social activity. Why not?
Okay. Wow.
One more
Interesting.
thing that is maybe a bit more advanced for an integration thing that I started doing it recently is actually listening to the local news. Maybe you could also do this with reading, but I listen to some podcasts from like with German news because since it's the country that you're gonna be living in, it's also important that you are yourself informed about what's happening around you, and you don't live just in your, I don't know, international bubble, watching news from home or internationally. And you also improve your listening skills, vocabulary, and everything that comes along with that.
I
So I
would
would
even
also
top it. I would top it and I would say
Ooh,
politics is great, but listen to the local comedy, guys, in that language. And frankly, I think if you understand
we're
the
in
local
Germany, Asa.
jokes, oh, really? If you understand the local jokes, because I remember myself a couple of years back, my friend took me to the show of Cem Yılmaz. It's a very famous Turkish comedian. He's already, God knows how much he's old. I don't even know how many. He's probably in his 60s or something, but he's still super famous in all the advertisements and all. And he had a show which was called 101. and he like it was the cinema where we just watched a guy. It was a pre-recorded thing, sort of a stand-up show in Turkish. He had all his jokes, and frankly, when on the 20th minute I understood the first joke, I was extremely proud of myself. Everybody
Of
was already
course.
laughing,
Yeah.
like crazy. And I just sat there and I would understand everything until this clue point, which was the actual joke. So I think trying to understand the sense of humor and actually understand the channels through which the sense of humor is being portrayed is a great way to learn the language and is a great way to integrate, because whenever you as a foreigner express the joke that is local, you're gonna get the respect and you're gonna initiate
This is so
interest.
true.
Yeah, and people are gonna
Mm,
like, oh my god, how do you know this, how do
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
Yeah,
do you know this
I'll
You're
one,
one
do
of
double
you
that.
know
us.
this one?
He's one of us. Yeah,
Yeah, like
I'll
in
double that.
Turkey, the famous comics, for example, they read comics, uykusuzluk or something like that. They read this, like I was like, what? Really? People are into comics in Turkey? I didn't even have an idea. So yeah, really
mm,
difficult but nice.
I can double that, and I had the similar experience with Spanish, especially the Spanish from Spain, where I was watching. And what I want to bring up here is that you don't need to do it while living in the country. Again, let's say if you have plans to move somewhere, or if you
Mhm.
want to even get to know more about the culture, you just watch YouTube, which I was doing with La Resistencia or La Resistencia, which is kind of comedy TV novel or TV series that they play every day, I think, in Spain, where I got a lot of the jokes there, and I understand like how is from what kind of words they use and what kind of things they talk about in Spain. And then in the office where I have a lot of colleagues from Spain,
Mm,
they see that you put more time into or energy to learn about their culture.
mm.
So the same thing can happen with Germany in this case, or German
definitely.
could
My
happen.
next goal to integrate into the Cuban culture.
Yeah.
Ya tú
Okay.
sabes.
Yeah, tu sabe.
I'm already going to Latino parties, so I have already started. So when I'm in Cuba,
Some countries do
Step
provide
one.
these opportunities, and it's to be integrating into a culture that is not even sort of having any
exactly,
relation to the country, but it's so
Yeah,
nice.
yeah. It's like
exactly.
it's the same with all the dancing and everything. Yeah, it's you can get in contact with some cultures like very
S-
unexpectedly.
Absolutely.
So, if we could wrap up all our amazing talk and make like a quick summary on what we can do, I hope we gave you some ideas as well, or maybe you've already doing half of this stuff. So yeah, we spoke about using different groups of interests, right? Joining them. We spoke about being more open-minded, going around the streets and trying to be more attentive to what's written, but also on what people are saying or actually responding, not being afraid to respond to like some simple maybe questions and communication on the street.
Not
What
being afraid
else
of
was
making
there?
mistakes, like not being afraid of
Yeah, sure.
oh, I'm gonna say it
Hmm.
wrong, I'm gonna have like a weird accent or whatever. Just speak, just speak.
Hmm.
Embrace yourself.
Embrace yourself. Yes.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yep. And I think one final word here is, since we are talking about migration and all of us we live abroad for many years, I think it's difficult. We always, I think everybody or more of us, the majority of us, thinks that eventually at some time we're gonna go back because we have our families, our friends, our culture that we miss. But at the same time, life abroad is can give you new opportunities, new challenges,
Mm.
new things to learn. So you can also always like wait what you get and what you lose. You can always try, see if you like. It doesn't mean that if you want to, uh, if you have to go, let's say if you want planning to go live abroad, that you have to stay there, or
Mhm.
that. Yeah, I think that's my point of view.
Oh, what an amazing conclusion, Dimi.
I know.
That's
Thank you.
that's great. And on that positive note of encouragement from Dimi, we would like to thank you for listening and see you in the next episode. Stay tuned. Besitos. The breakfast together.
Besitos a todos.
Good.
A gente só fala.
Ciao, ciao.